Despite how much I love video games in general, sometimes it feels like my range is way too small. I'm not necessarily referring to platforms, as I'm sure most of you know I play stuff on Nintendo consoles, PlayStation consoles, on PC, and nothing else, but I'm more so talking about genres. With very few exceptions when it comes to horror games, shooters, narratively driven games, no thanks, I'll play Mega Man 7 for the 45th time instead. But if there's one genre that, despite my general lack of passion for it, continues to bring me back time after time, I'm gonna have to go with the Burger King genre on this one. Truly nothing but classics. Fighting games are so cool. There's just something about how their high-level matches look, how awesome you feel when you pull off a sick combo, and how great it feels to take someone down knowing it all came down to you outdoing them that I don't think any other genre really matches. Unfortunately, I'm just no good at these games. Every time I find a fun one, I pick a character I like, try and fail to learn their combos, cry in the corner, lack desire to go online, cry in the corner, put the game back on the shelf, cry in the corner. That last one really had nothing to do with the game, it's just a daily thing. I can't keep up with these games, I need more time for my snail brain to comprehend each action and how to respond to it, hence why I love RPGs and card games so much. Of course, I'll always come back to Smash, and Ultimate is a game I'd like to think I'm at least moderately competent at, but there's one fighting game that, regardless of if I'm actually any good or not, makes me feel good enough that I will always come back to it, and obviously I'm talking about... There used to be a ceiling there, right?
Wade.
Oh my god, indie developer Dan Fernacci? Fernacci? What are you doing here?
I've brought you something. A gift.
Is it Rivals of Aether Definitive Edition? I know it just came out.
Well,
I mean, I already have it. I've been playing this game for like 5 years, and I was pretty obviously about to mention it. Rivals of Aether Definitive Edition released for Switch on September 24th, 2020, but as I literally just said, that's not where the game started, not by a long shot. In terms of PC and Xbox One, the game released back in 2017, yet we still gotta go even earlier than that. My history with this game began back on September 27th, 2015, when it was in early access, had a mere 6 characters, and Rastor made me want to choke myself with my own controller cord. I don't know what's crazier, the fact that I got this game over half a decade ago, or the fact that it's consistently continued to keep me interested and bring me back over and over throughout that whole time. I love Rivals of Aether. But why though? As you can see, with your eyes in front of you, the game is a platform fighter just like Smash, which is normally not a great idea, but Rivals manages to differentiate itself in ways that are, you know, fun. And the first of which is that it actually has a concept. Okay, I know Smash has the concept of the characters being toys that are being played with, but like, is that really its concept? I feel like they kinda dropped that whole thing after Melee. Regardless, just let me have this. The game is all about playing out the events that take place between the animal inhabitants of the divided planet Aether, on which there's near constant conflict between its many civilizations. Christ, that sentence felt like a Mad Lib. These aren't normal wildlife squabbles though, they're all-out battles between intelligent creatures that call forth the elemental powers of air, earth, fire, and water to help them in combat. In total, there are 14. Using the power of air, we have Absa and Rastor from the Air Alliance and Air Armada respectively, as well as Eliana, who tries to take the Armada down. Using the power of earth, we have Crag and Maypole, each serving as protectors of the forest by either standing guard on its surrounding wall or hunting for intruders inside, in addition to Sylvanos, the wrathful god of the forest who wants to expand it and take over the world. Using the power of water, we have Kane. Obviously, just by looking at him, you can tell that he's a criminal mastermind who uses his control over water to sneakily carry out his missions, but we also have Edalus, hailing from the Ice Barons, who endlessly hunts for the evil creatures who slaughtered his people. And rounding water out, there's Rano, a martial artist who wants nothing more than to protect his home. And lastly, from the Firelands, we have Zetterburn, Forsburn, and Claren. It's surely no surprise that these two are brothers, Zetterburn being a powerful yet naive soldier, and Forsburn a diplomat who was cast out by his people after he was framed for murdering their own father. Last but certainly not least is Claren, who also hails from the Firelands in a distant, doomed future, and thus she's found a way to travel back in time in an attempt to stop that horrible future from ever coming to pass. Nobody explain paradoxes to her, please. But wait, I hear you saying, that's only 12. What element do the other ones use? And who are they? Well, you see, while I previously stated that the fighters use the powers of air, earth, fire, and water, there's also a hidden fifth one, known only as, we are guest characters and thus we don't use anything, just shut up and enjoy the crossover. And the first to use this hidden power are Ori and Sign from Ori and the Blind Forest. I remember this one catching me completely off guard. Not only was I not even expecting Rivals to have guests, but Ori? Either way, they fit remarkably well here, and if you'd never heard of Ori before this, you probably wouldn't even assume that this was a guest slot. And the other one is... oh yeah, this guy. Sorry, I don't remember his name. I don't think he's ever been in an indie game before. Jokes aside, despite how much he sticks out compared to the rest of the cast, I couldn't be happier that Shovel Lad is here, and it's almost certainly the most faithful, perfect interpretation of him that's ever been seen outside of his own game. So we have a real beautiful police lineup here, but how do they play? Well, much like its contemporaries, each character has normal, strong, and special attacks, all of which can be combined with different directions to use other moves. Unlike its contemporaries, however, these moves, usually the special ones, have a tendency to completely change how each character fights. Some are more simple, like the fact that Rastor's strong attacks can only be used in the air instead of only on the ground, or how Zetterburn can light enemies on fire and then gain a knockback bonus on burning opponents. Meanwhile, Forsburn can create a clone of himself and cover the stage in smoke, Rano can trap people in a bubble while he kicks their ass, and Shovel Knight just straight up gathers money and buys items mid-fight. Giving everyone these wild possibilities not only helps everyone feel noticeably different to play, but also means that learning how to best utilize all their crazy options is extremely rewarding, and I would say that just extends to the entirety of the gameplay. If you haven't noticed because you watch all my videos at 50% speed or something, I mean, who am I to judge? This game is really fast. I'm not sure it quite reaches how blindingly quick Melee can get, but that game is arguably too fast for the average person, and I honestly think Rivals has found about as close to a perfect middle ground as it possibly could. Plus, when you master the now physically possible wave dashing and wave landing that they took straight out of Melee, you can truly get to anywhere you want on the stage without any trouble, which is pretty nice for chasing opponents down, which I do constantly because this game feels a lot more offensively focused than defensively. In fact, it feels so unconcerned with defense that they straight up just don't have shielding or grabbing. Instead, pressing one of the shoulder buttons while you stand still lets you parry, which gives you a brief window to block someone's attack as well as momentarily freeze them in place. There's just this sense of, for lack of a better term, flow that permeates every second of playing this game, and that makes it profoundly satisfying to me, and I feel shockingly competent. Rivals of Aether did what 12 years of school never could. In addition to the standard versus matches, you can also fight in story mode and abyss mode. Abyss mode is an endless gauntlet of mini challenges that you have to do without dying. It's a fine mode and definitely a challenge, but not really my cup of tea. Story mode isn't really either, but I definitely prefer it. It's pretty much the same as classic mode from Smash, but with short story segments tying each fight together. Kinda. It's pretty weird. Sometimes in the story it'll be like Forsburn made Zetterburn mad, and then you'll play out a fight between them. But sometimes it'll be like Crag made Rastor mad, and then you fight Zetterburn? And then Rastor is still mad at Crag, so you fight Kane? And then Rastor is still mad at Crag, so you finally do fight him. I definitely think it would have been a lot better if there was a specific scenario for each and every fight, as well as if there was a story chapter for every character instead of 6 of them. I know that would have been a ton more work, but the whole mode feels oddly incomplete and maybe even downright broken the way it is. So forget those modes and answer me a question. Have you ever wanted to know how a frog feels tetherballing? Don't worry, you don't actually have to respond. We all know what your answer is. Yeah, there's not much I could even say to introduce this or explain why it exists before our eyes, but it does. Against all reason, it's actually quite possibly the most interesting side mode. You can only hit the ball when it's on your side of the pole, and you can attack each other the whole time. So it's an odd dance of balancing the speed and direction of the ball with beating your opponent up so they can't do the same thing. Unfortunately, I only have AI and randoms to play it against, but I imagine this would be chaotic fun if you had a friend for it. If I have anything negative to say about the game, I guess I would say that the DLC characters feel much more interesting than all the lads that have been here from the start. I should probably clarify that if you go buy Definitive Edition right now, it has every character included by default, but I think if you play them all, you'll be able to sniff out which are the newest and which it all began with. Though it could also just be biased, because there is a difference between playing 2.5 years of Sylvanos and 5 years of Rastor. Plus, really any problem I could come up with for the game would be drowned out by all the amazing stuff it does. I mean, dude, you can make custom character colors in this game, and on the PC version, if you know how to work with Steam Workshop, you can program in your own entire custom character. I don't, but regardless, it's blatantly obvious that I love Rivals of Aether. I'll be completely honest, if you don't like Smash, I doubt this game is gonna change your mind, but if you do like Smash, I can't recommend it enough. Since the developers are a bunch of jokesters, they have a tendency to announce unbelievable things on April Fool's Day that all end up being real, including but not limited to a dating sim and Tetherball, and if the most recent one is to be believed, we've got a comic, an RPG, and a 3D game on the horizon alongside Creatures of Aether, the mobile strategy game that just released. Basically, the world of Rivals is just getting started, so maybe one of its 1,000 other attempts to get you interested will work. For the sake of the excellent developers and the awesome games they're making, I really hope one of them does. Boy, wouldn't it sure be crazy and downright wacky if a giant omnipotent indie developer broke through my roof right now and helped me end the episode.